Let's Fix It in Pod, our little podcast about VFX, CGI, and everything in between. So it's the new year, and we're all oversaturated with family and friends. And it's time to get back into the real community, which is meeting VFX artists and getting to know each other and the peoples out there. So, Christoph, what's your idea? Where do you meet your peers?
Well, we talked about Christmas, and actually one thing I do now for a couple of years here in Hamburg together with some other freelancers is we organize ourselves a freelancer Christmas party.
So that is a peer-to-peer Christmas party?
It's a Christmas party. It's what you expect. It's we get together, we have some very caloric dense food, we've got some alcoholic beverages. We talk. We try to keep it actually as a kind of safe space in that regard that we don't invite anybody who is like fully employed at a certain company or like a client of ours. So that this is really like an event where we get together and just be on our own, can talk freely. So it's nice to meet up with all the people you often only randomly meet on a job, but it's also really helpful for exchanging ideas, getting connected, staying connected, and sharing job opportunities, for example.
Yeah, that's something we always see when the community gets together. Well, there's some alcohol, there's some third-rate jokes, and there's job switches, some gossip about who might be looking for some help soon. That's something that every artist should do. Get the feelers out there. You don't have to be a social butterfly and super networker or something like that. But if your town has something like that, like a freelancer Christmas party, like studio Christmas parties, one should go. But, well, there's your party in Hamburg. In Stuttgart, there's a VFX Stammtisch, so regular meetup. And, of course, the FMX. In Munich, there's also a Stammtisch, which organizes itself in a WhatsApp group, I think.
Yeah, I think every major town in the industry has got this kind of meetup, and especially for freelancers, it's a great way to stay connected. And you're absolutely right. There are social butterflies among us. The people who are on every client's party, who are always around and buzzing around. But especially for the introverts, I feel like if you've got events where you know that you're with like-minded people, it's much easier to actually show yourselves, to stay connected, and maybe get into contact with somebody who then knows somebody, and that might bring along the next job.
Also, what I think it's usually quite helpful, what I see, because I don't work in CG, I work about CG, but what I see at these kinds of events is that the people are checking in if their pipelines, if their approaches are still viable. Because especially as a freelancer, sometimes you work from home or mostly from home or even completely from home, and you need some kind of the stuff I'm doing. Am I doing that right? And that's something that it's quite important in my opinion, because otherwise you're basically going to work the same on your last day as on your first day, which means you haven't learned anything in months, years, decades, or even ever, because let's be honest, there are bureaucrats in our company, in our industry.
Especially in a time where we all work remotely, it's really important to touch base with your community, and not only with in regards to am I doing this right, but also just to gather some news, what is happening, who's looking for somebody. Which clients are actually paying their bills and which ones should be avoided. There are reasons why you should always stay connected. And I mentioned the Christmas party, then there are the get-togethers. What's also really helpful, what we've got here in Hamburg, is just a WhatsApp group with all the local freelancers around, and it's pretty open, and it's just really easy. If, for example, somebody gets an inquiry for a job and he's booked, then usually he shares that offering on our WhatsApp group, and somebody says, yeah, I'm available. So, and that's a win-win situation, because that person who's booked can refer somebody to his client, which is always a bit a better impression than just to say, yeah, I'm booked, I can't help you. And you can pass the job along to somebody else. This WhatsApp group has been around for something like 7 years, and it's really helpful. I referred some jobs there. I got a couple of jobs from there, and I got some great news from there, got help from there. People who contributed to my FX PhD tutorials were on that group. So having this as a loose connection is also really, really helpful.
Yeah, but that's something that only works when you're in a larger VFX hub or post hub. So for Germany, that would be Munich, Cologne, Hamburg, Berlin, Stuttgart to make the round. But in other countries, the hubs aren't that big, or they are quite far apart, or there aren't any real hubs. In a lot of smaller European countries, you have one town where there's one or two or three studios, maybe a bit of commercial stuff, and then it drops sharply off. Mostly that's in the capital, looking at London, at Paris, at Barcelona. I wouldn't know if Italy has a VFX hub anymore. What do you do when you are a Italian VFX artist? When you're Irish? What do you do when you're Irish?
Well, we could get into some stereotypes that also would involve hard liquor, but no. But on a serious note, I think actually, and I've mentioned that before, but I think COVID, for all the bad stuff that came with it, had some profound changes on our industry, and one is that it's much easier to stay connected in even if you're very remote, because honestly it doesn't matter that much if I'm sitting here in my office on my own and I'm talking via WhatsApp or on a Zoom hangout to my peers, if I'm next door, or if I'm in a small village somewhere in North Rhine-Westphalia or whatever. That really doesn't. Could you please channel your inner correctorate somewhat? It's really hard to have a discussion that way.
Dude, spend 30 seconds in my brain. This is not gonna help. It's gonna freak you right out. Yeah, that's one of the things that is a plus of Corona. We learned that remote is possible, even if middle management still doesn't like it. But
we don't like them either.
Yeah. So that fits.
The feeling's mutual.
I like these groups, these little hangouts, these Stammtisches, whatever. But one problem I see there, since I've been doing digital production, there were a couple of those in Munich, and they always go for a time and then they die down. And then there's another one coming up, mostly with the same people, but a different organizer and things like that. So this is great, but it's regional and it's temporary. And if you fall off the list because you had something to do for a couple of years or were somewhere else, then it's gonna be quite difficult to get back into it. So what should you do then? Well, I'd say usually read magazines and the news sites and the news blogs about that, because people who do news sites often will tell you about these kinds of events. There's a a showing there or an exhibition there or something like that. That's the point where you can get back into this email list, or basically a WhatsApp group or whatever it is. But besides that, it would be nice if there is something big and old where you can just be a part of and never fall out of it.
given. That's a drawback of these loosely knit communities. They are not hierarchical in any way, so there's no organization. And I get that all the time with the before mentioned Christmas party where people said, "Oh, this was nice. You should have invited." I was like, "Duh. Yeah, I should have." But it's like it's, as I said, not organized. I often don't get the info that somebody turned his full-time position to freelance or vice versa. So yeah, that's and I can't keep track of all that. So I think there's merit to the whole idea of having a loosely knit, non-hierarchical local community. And then you've got very structured ideas on the other end. But I think before we get there, we should mention that there are also some things in between, like semi-organized events come to mind. So, for example,
what is a semi-organized event?
Let's say, what I mean by that is that you not fully apply for membership in an organization, but rather regular events that are organized with maybe a program that people regularly can attend and have a meetup there. But it's more than just a meetup, because you also got speakers and all that. So, for example, in Hamburg, we've got this bi-monthly event called Pixelist, where usually the great people that organize that, they get 2 to 3 speakers who can showcase their work. They can maybe present a new tool or something like that. And it's usually not like the Adobes or the Blackmagics showing their stuff, but rather the small freelancers just showing the latest work, or a director showing a motion graphics art piece that he has done, or these kinds of things. But that gives you a framework on what to talk about, actually. So it's not just like, yeah, we meet up and we talk about how AI is gonna kill all our jobs, but it's more content driven. Let me put it that way.
So how AI is gonna kill the jobs of compositors?
Yeah, or how AI could not have done this great masterpiece you've just seen.
Yeah, but while we're saying that, also something that's, especially if you're a beginner, is quite helpful are these roadshows by Adobe, by Blackmagic, by Maxon. Yeah. Especially if you're a beginner and you don't have any connections there already, because you're gonna meet other people you have a common interest, be that the Blackmagic cameras or the Adobe suite or ZBrush and Cinema 4D or whatever. And these are very good, very easy first steps into something. These aren't costly events. You don't need to wear a black tie, and well, I never do, but
nobody does.
Funnily enough, I've seen one once. I'm not gonna say which company it was, but 2 very young freelancers, they've been freelancing for a week or something like that, and they showed up in full black tie with business card ready and the pomade in their hair freshly from the barbers. And
well, that's either great confidence or they'll only do it once.
Yeah, they did it only once. I've seen them recently at the when Adobe showed their new stuff around. Yeah, they're is it fashionable or is it a pyjama? It's always difficult to say.
It's a fluent process. That's another, let's say, change from COVID and working in the home office.
Yeah, we all learned in a video call, check before you stand up.
Yep. But we digress. Yeah. But honestly, you're right. These events are low entry, low barrier ways to get into the community, and especially if you're not yet, like, if you're, for example, in a small company, this is really helpful to go to these free events. Firstly, usually there's some food or some drinks there, so always great. but you start to meet people, and once again, like with the Pixelist example I just mentioned, you've got people who've just seen the same thing. You can discuss how great or a new tool is. You can discuss if you're already a seasoned artist or just starting out, if it makes sense for you to learn this tool, and boom, you are in a conversation, and suddenly you know who is working in your industry, in your area.
And if you're talking to one person, there's going to be a second, third, and fourth person coming along, and you're going to get some conversation going. So, but and this might show my age, but when you're going to something like that, always have business cards or contact cards at least with you, because no matter what Apple, Android, LinkedIn, Xing, whatever is telling, nobody has all the systems, so you're always going to need something with your name on it and an email address and a web address to stay in contact. I don't want to assume that you're like me, but I sometimes can't remember names. How do you see that, Thomas?
I was just about to say, I've got no idea how you came up with that, Richard.
Are you calling me Dick?
Oh, I've called you worse.
Jokes aside, there's always these events by software companies and hardware companies, but these days they also have their forums for, let's say, for Nuke, for Flame, for the Adobe Suite. Okay, Adobe Suite has more than one forum. And these are always great places to meet your fellow users. And also there you're going to find some tips on where to meet people in your town. But be advised, this is usually something very fanboyish. So if you're learning Fusion, you shouldn't rock up at the Nuke meetup, and for example, and vice versa.
I would kindly disagree. I had great fun when I was still just a cyborg or Flame user showing up at the Nuke meeting, and I was always quite fondly of them paying my drinks. And 2 years later, I used the software, so I would suggest to be open-minded there. Yeah, the official forums are a great place to start, but honestly, I feel like the best place if you want to connect and not like search for the smartest shortcut is really the communities that build around the software. And what I find quite fascinating is that the communities are really different, even though it's basically the same task but a different software. So, for example, the Nuke community is really built around a lot of custom scripting and how you can modify your Nuke experience, almost like tuning a car or something. And it's really people helping each other out, geeking out about the best efficient Python code for achieving something, or utilizing Blink script or something. So very techy, very nerdy, but still really open to newcomers. And even if you want to do something very simple like loading up your plugins or installing a gizmo, there will be people there who will gladly help you. The other kind of community that I, of course, am a member of and that I really enjoy is the Flame community. And that got kind of revamped during COVID once again, when two guys from the US, Andy Milkis from New York and Randy McEntee from Chicago, decided that sitting home alone is really boring, and that they want to stay in touch with fellow artists. So they built up this Logic community, and they introduced something called Logic Live. At the beginning, it was basically a couple of artists hanging out on the Zoom call. By show number 4, I was a guest on there and showed some tricks, and the next week somebody else did show some tricks, and so it evolved into a bi-weekly show. It's always something of interest to the community, and still they occasionally have these little hangouts where we basically just talk about the state of the industry or the newest version of Flame or whatever is of interest to us. And then they've got a Discord channel where you can hang out, and 3,000 very active members. But once again, very different from my experience in the new community. So the nice thing about these is they are really close to the software, but they are not managed or governed by the company that owns the software. So there's no conflict of interest. Everybody can speak freely. And it's a really nice way to connect. And what I find fascinating, the Flame community up until COVID has always been very localized. So the German Flame guys knew each other, the American Flame guys knew each other, the British Flame guys knew each other. But what the revamp of the community during COVID did, it really got globalized. So there was a Logic Live event in Las Vegas, and then we had 2 of them in Amsterdam, I think. And maybe one day 3 guys will show up and introduce a Logic Live event at FMX in Stuttgart. We will see.
There aren't that many Flame artists at FMX, but we'll see what happens.
I'll keep pushing them there. I'll keep pushing.
So
that's what a community is for, after all.
So you were the one trapping the youngsters in the hallways. Have you heard of Flame? There is this...
That sounds really creepy, Bela. Really, really creepy.
Yeah, when I imagine that might be... maybe try to... or have a board in front of the door, so the end is nigh. Still time to learn Flame. That's also creepy, but not in an aggressive way.
Well, we could digress on the steep learning curve of Flame, but if the end is nigh, well,
then it's no use.
We talked now about FMX and IBC and all these events, NAB, and this is of course also a great part for the community. So there are 2 events I frequently go to, and there's FMX, and there I go, of course, for the community, but also for the talks, for the presentations, for all that good stuff. Then there's IBC, and it's, as we discussed in our first episode, it's fun to see big satellite dishes and see the huge show floors. But what I really go there for are the after-hour events. There I do meet people from different disciplines there. I meet people from across the globe.
Funny enough, you always meet some people from your hometown or from where you are. There's people from Munich I meet every year at IBC. We never meet in Munich because that would be either too easy or because the whole industry is in one place. And but if you are a starting artist, FMX is more important than IBC.
Let's put it that way. So FMX is like your graduation party, and IBC is your high school reunion.
I would rather say FMX is meeting family. IBC is meeting the company. That's the thing I like about FMX. Everybody is around, even the high level senior people who've got all the Oscars and all the and all the patents. Yeah, they're gonna hang around in front of the door for a smoke, or you meet them in the evening or after the talks. There's with all the high level talks they have, the people are still around afterward. You can ask them, and if you're the smallest first day artist, you can go up to the giants of the industry, and they will talk to you.
I would agree to a certain point. It's on ABC you can walk the hallways the whole day, and you'll run into people, but you already know them. And to actually meet new people, you have to go to the after show events. And FMX is different. FMX by design with all the talks. Once again, the common topic you can talk about with somebody just standing in the queue for the next talk. You can start a conversation about, did you see the ILP presentation on this and that? Oh yeah, that was great. Or are you going to that masterclass? Or So there's always something to talk about, and yeah. So, but very different events, but both I feel still really important for having a community. And to be totally honest, yes, getting into a community is important, and that's what we're here to talk about today. But IBC with this, like as I called it, high school reunion vibe, it's also important to maintain a community, just to keep everybody up to date, just to make sure that yeah, this community doesn't dwindle down.
And yeah, but you can also just go for a professional community because, believe it or not, in VFX there are, as far as I know, 3 communities who are actual communities and by design, which is they all come from different places, but these days, if you're an artist, you might want to try to join them or just know about them, because one of the reasons why we have this topic is I meet a lot of young artists who don't know about that. They learned their tools on YouTube and maybe some FX PhD courses, meeting young artists, and they don't know about these old established communities who are always they've been around in the last millennium, which apparently isn't 3 years ago as it feels to me, but and they have all these resources, all these knowledge, all these connections, which as a member you can use. So you can meet people there. They organize community events. They organize screeners. They have giant libraries of everything from forums to white papers, from things that are standards these days. They publish books and magazines and papers and have events. So this is something both on the community side and on the learning side, which as a young artist is quite valuable. So as a youngster, you go there for the white papers and to see who's who, because who's that person? I never heard about them. So Google it. Oh, yeah, he's a VS member, or he's a SMPTE member, or he's FKTG, and who is that? And then you get a feeling for these people, and at their live events, at their meetups, you get to meet these people, and on one hand, you see why they are the giants of the industry they are, and most of the time you meet them and you see that they're actually just people. They're just cooking with water, and you can meet them. So a couple of the really big names where I was afraid of them, I met at, for example, FMX, and who's that guy running around clutching his backpack and looking like he's looking for his mom to pick him up? Oh no, he's got 3 Oscars, 2 technical achievement awards, and yeah, this might be the smartest person in the room. And it wasn't just me in that room.
It's really important that we have kind of this organized institutions that keep communities going, because that way we also make sure to talk about young people entering the industry, and that way we make sure that actually knowledge is not lost, but rather transferred, adapted, modernized. So for us as an industry, I think we've got a great interest in having these different organizations like the SMPTE or like VES, to have a body that actually makes sure that knowledge is not lost and also is not standing still, but maintained, updated.
Yeah, because if a standard is great but it doesn't work for you, maybe if you talk to the person who invented that standard many, many moons ago, he can either update his part of it, or he'll at least listen to you. So yeah, what should we do in the next version? So this is something we see especially in graphics and transfer stuff, where the different standards like HDMI and DisplayPort and so on, a lot of the developers for that are at these conferences and they're listening to the problems of the people. It's not just what Samsung wants in the next TV. It's also the professionals using our products. What do they want? And so you have to meet those people. And that's something that's quite important, because otherwise it's always going to be just Excel and MS Paint.
Jumping back to the communities gathered around a specific software for a minute. So, for example, software like Blender would just not be possible
Yeah.
without a community around it. The whole thing breathes on community. Also, I think it's if you're a single artist and you've got this specific feature wish for your software, or you need something drastically changed, you've got no leverage whatsoever if you're alone. However, if you've got a community, if you can gather some momentum, if you can gather some voices, then you can actually achieve change in your software. And I think both in Nuke and Flame, and I'm just mentioning the two because those are the two softwares where I've got really long experience in, we've seen changes that were really not only like pushed in a certain direction or subtly suggested. No, they were really, I would say, enforced by the community.
There were demands, and those
and
demands had to be heard by the company.
yeah, and you need to have a critical mass for that, and the best way to get that is a solid user community.
If you are in visual effects and you look at the people running around there's always something called VES. So what does that stand for? That's the Visual Effects Society. So for the VES, we talked to Agon Ushaku.
Agon really wears a lot of hats. So at the moment, he is head of 3D and CAD visual management at Polygrail. Before, he was in a similar role for a lot of years at Unexpected. He's also an independent CGI production and visual quality consultant. And he is now the head of the board of the German VES section. And what that all entails, we best ask himself.
Hi, Agon.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for being part of the show.
So just to start easy, what is the VES and how many people are in there? Is it four old guys talking about the times at ILM when they still could do practical effects, or is it something larger these days?
Yeah, I think we are growing very fast. Well, VES stands for Visual Effects Society, and it is called like that because it is a society and one honorary organization that honors our industry. It means everything that has to do with visual effects, with CG, and also practical effects, right? So we stand really to honor everybody that works there for art and to support the community and to make us seen everywhere and to even get more serious also for um, I don't know how to say, maybe for those who don't really understand what we are doing, because you can't imagine everybody speaking about the effects, but if it comes sometimes to explain that, they are not really knowing what's going on. So the VS is maybe the good place to start, also as a website to try to get a little glimpse of what we were standing for. About the members, well, I don't know much about history when it started, but I know that we are now having about 6,000 members worldwide.
So VES is a global organization. So there's VES Germany, France, England, US, India, whatever.
Exactly, but I think this going international, it started a little bit later on. So first was typical American and Canada and East and West Coast divided more, not divided, but you had the sections that maybe uh, they have some rules that you can be a section when this part or this hub gets more than 50 members. If you are more than 50 members, you can be named as a section. And what are the benefits of being the section? You are getting from money that you pay as from your membership, you get as a section a stipend twice a year. So you can gather people, get some drinks, and get networking. We have two mandatory membership drives. Membership drives are always in March and in September. It's at the time when the headquarters evaluate the all entries to become a member, and then we get new members, and some cannot make it. Some will be, some of them just stop being members from different, uh, yes, occasions from life, or like we had. Uh, I mean, it's not a secret. We know that our industry was suffering last years, and it's still not really recovered yet exactly. But we have some positive movement compared to what it was about 6 months ago, 7 or 10 months ago, and this is encouraging us very much to support also people that have trouble not finding a job and things like that. The sections are mostly based on the cities, but we have some differences. For example, Germany is a special different section compared to all others. You would ask why? Because uh, we have also section called VS France, but 95% of members live in Paris or near to Paris, and you have 5% Montpellier, Avignon, and everywhere. So when they organize something, not a problem at all because whole bunch is there in Paris. Germany is just like everything in Germany is equally, balanced. We have three almost equally balanced cities that we call internally three hubs in Germany section. We have this Berlin hub. They have the most number. It's also understandable. The most of companies are there. The second in the row is Munich, and the third one is Germany. It's Stuttgart. Sure. And then we have some few of them that are about 5%, I think. They are in Frankfurt, Bielefeld, Hanover, and Hamburg, and cities like that. But you can go from the fact that maybe 35% or 36% are in Berlin, other uh, 35% or 34% are in Munich, and the rest is Stuttgart, so 29 or something like that. I don't know. But we are growing, uh, so this can change. In London is called VS London, not VS Great Britain. It's with a good reason because there are a lot of VS members there, but the most of them are in London, which is the main city after I think Burbank or Bay Area for visual effects in the world still. Um, and they are just called VS London. I know that a lot of them from Glasgow, okay, Axis is not there anymore, but a lot of them were VS members, and they were part of London. So the differences are like they are.
You mentioned all these percentages, so gives us a great idea on how they are distributed. But how many VES members are there in total in Germany?
We have about or around about plus minus 1 to 2, 202 members in Germany. Yeah, 203 members in all Germany. Yeah.
Those are distributed through basically all the the big institutions and the big studios.
Yeah, not exactly, because of course the most of them are still what has to do with film or Netflix productions or you know what I mean. So exactly, there are most of them are in the big visual effects studios in Germany. I mean, big for German, yeah. Well, I mean standards because Rise is for US, for example, Rise FX and Trixer is for US standard. Not really a big company, but it's something in the middle. It has to do with size of that, but for us, they are, for example, the largest one. Yeah. So I didn't mention all, not to somebody to be not. After hearing the podcast, of course, we have Scanline, Pixamondo, Rise, and Trixter, and then it's a little Another one that's a little bit smaller, but makes the same good quality and then high work, like Accenture Son, formerly known as Macrovision. And then we have these boutique studios that are also in Germany everywhere, like Automatic Effects or like Unexpected was, where I was working with up to 30, 30 to 40 working force, which for Germany, it's not a bad number yet, but it's still counted as a boutique studio.
Let's say we want to get Christoph into the VES membership. How does that work exactly?
So, first of all, do I have to convince you why it's good to be a member?
Give me an elevator pitch.
You get one-to-one mentorship paid from VS, one-to-one for anything that you need. And it is twice a year, about, I think, twice or 3 times a year, about 2 to 3 hours, one-to-one. And a friend of mine that you, Bela, also know, he did it, and he got a veteran that everybody from us know from ILM. So you don't know what you will get, but you will get always a good professional who will take time and just talk to you for things that you need.
So, so this is something like you get some time with an external person from your profession to talk about everything from showreels to new versions to upcoming pipelines to all this stuff. Somebody external who knows what you're going through, and you can talk through all the daily stuff.
For example, you are a CG artist and you are having interest more to go in compositing. Yeah. Like lots of guys I know that started 3D and CG, I went to compositing. I also know guys that were compositor in Nuke and then they switched to Houdini and they are CG artists now. So, and you need some just to ask. You ask your colleagues and everything, but if you use this mentorship program, you will get the right information from the right people who knows a little bit. And then maybe they take somebody who will the comparison make through. Best case, you will get somebody like yourself that did it that years before and can tell you what are the things that you have to take care of or why you cannot expect more work than a compositor because they are more needed than a Houdini artist. And if you are a Houdini artist, it's okay to be but mediocre. Nobody wants because they want just the best of the best. Or you do Houdini, you don't know a lot about simulation, but you are the drop that good uh, groomer in Houdini, for example, and you specialize on that. And this is what Houdini makes it, for example, not to go to another team, but these are things that you can discuss with a mentorship program. Another thing is that you will have from industry luminaries special interviews and how you say panel talks that you will get just as a VS member recordings to see. Some of them are open for the world, but not all of them. And as a member, when you log in, you see content that you can take part, or you can take part in the live session. Is it on site or online? It doesn't matter. You can be there to ask and to have a glimpse what they did by the work. The other thing is you get to see the state of the art for film productions before they come to the cinema, or instantly when they come to the cinema, you will get from a possibility to see the screener without paying anything. And if you are lucky, you have these pre-screeners like we had not so long ago with Gladiator 2. It was about 10 days before it came to the theaters. And it was on Saturday, and we made this in Berlin and in Stuttgart. In Munich, we have still that problem for finding a venue, but doing this also with an affordable price for us. And then after the movie, we switched directly to Burbank, where all the stuff was there that they worked on the movie. And we could ask questions from Twitter, and they will always read. And from Stuttgart is coming this question, and they are mentioned. We are at the these are mostly so global screeners that are. It's called global, but it's not global because on the same time you can maybe just do it in US and in Europe, and then that everybody's looking, and after that everybody's taking part in this calls. Most of them I've found till now very good or very insightful because you are fresh, you saw the movie, and you talk about that directly. It's something like we did before at FMX, but Bela, you must remember, we had sometimes screenings at the cinemas in Stuttgart, and then the guy that was visualized was there and was answering the questions. That's something what we are doing instantly there. We have the section that is called Ask Me Anything for professionals. This has nothing to do with mentoring. It's something when they make the panels, you can ask absolutely anything of your concerns or what you think, and nobody will say, what kind of question is this? Everybody will try to understand you, why you came as a CG artist to that question. So this psychological support is very high at Visual Effects Society because they know that most of us work after hours and after very often are in crunches and things like that. You get resources for virtual production and benefits if you want to go to make a virtual production somewhere. There are registered, you will get some rabbit codes or something like that. We have special events, for example, like I said, when you are a member, then you go to these member drives, you get drinks, and then you can bring somebody with yourself, a friend from the industry that maybe want to know more about VS. And then you talk about things. And one of that is also the screeners, what I said. You can bring always a guest or two, depends from the cinema size. Even they are not members. You can say, hey, you want to come with me to the pre-screener? It costs nothing. It's on that day. Good. I come with you. And then maybe people get interested. And then you have get-together, town halls meetings. And then at SIGGRAPH, there are SIGGRAPH meeting. We do also FMX BS meeting, which is really large because, for example, myself, since I am VS member and I am also a board member and I'm also a Stuttgart guy, home game is FMX for me. I was always responsible to organize the FMX lunch for VS members. And you can imagine how the restaurant was full with people, at least 50, under them people like Paul de Belek, Kim Davidson, and all the big names of our industry that are guests also at the FMX. They all are members. They all come always to the FMX lunch, and it's very great day to communicate or to have a little bit networking session. Last FMX was a great one, and we can take also some guests sometimes, yeah, but in that lunch is a little bit so be a member and maybe you get an invitation. I mean, for that lunch, if you don't register really, maybe because you don't have a restaurant of 200 people, it's yeah. Christoph, you will get 1 year subscription of Netflix for free. Then you get screeners that you see online. For example, if you don't have Apple TV, you get a special code, and now you have also the apps everywhere for your consideration. HBO for your consideration, Warner Brothers for your consideration, Paramount Plus and things like that. The Better Man is, for example, ready that I can watch it. Now it's at the cinema, so I don't have to go and see it. And Penguin on HBO, I can see the whole series now for there, and I don't have HBO, so I can watch it. True Detective, the last one, is still there. I want to start long ago with Visual. So, do you want some more convincing?
No, I think our elevator has reached top level and great pitch. I'm sold. So what do I need to do now?
You go and to membership tab in the Visual Global website, and then you can apply there, and you have to write your work history. You have to have at least 5 years of professional experience in what you do that is suited to Visual Effects Society. You don't have to have worked at the movies for Hollywood or TV productions or some kind of shows from Netflix or CDF or whatever industry visualization, movies for advertisement or advertisement self or animation for some different venue or mixed realities, what are really needed for everywhere to pitch some products and things like that. That counts as well because it is visual effects, and you just have to prove it, and then what you work with and how you work with, and then you need to do endorsements writings from two members in good standing. So that means you pick up two members that know you a little bit best if you work with them, you know, and then they can write immediately, or they know you, like, for example, from the industry, like we meet every year at the FMX, and I know that you are a compositor, or maybe I know that you worked with that guy. And then it's good. Then you have to wait. You can apply it anytime, but you have to wait till March until they are reviewed, and then by member drive. Then someday they announce the names, and you will get then a big envelope with this diploma of membership accepted, and the card, membership card, and and a membership number, which is very important.
So, thanks for taking the time.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
We're going to see each other FMX, the latest.
Latest FMX, and I'm happy. Thank you that you are having me here. Of course, for VES is much more to explain there and to show and to there. But if you go to VS Global org, you can see that. And I hope not only to get animation magazine or visual effects voice magazine that is exclusive for the members, that you get as a member to it's one of the best visual effects magazines, but maybe I can see sometimes to see the digital production as well there. That's for the BS members can benefit from it a little bit.
Well, I might be able to do something about that in the near future.
Well, I was wondering if you know somebody who can help. Snap.
Yeah, let me get my cat.
Who could be that person?
Yeah, so thank you, and
Thank you so much.
You're
onwards.
welcome.
So for the more creative inclined, the VES certainly seems like a great fit. So check that out. If you're more on the technical, nerdy kind of side, then you'll enjoy the discussion we're about to have with Stefan Albertz from the University of Applied Science in Hamm-Lippstatd.
So that was VS, but there's another group of people who have a slightly different approach to this, and that's the SMPTE. If you ever wondered what SMPTE is for, we have one person who knows exactly what it's standing for. Everybody meet Stefan Albertz.
So first, what is that acronym? So the SMPTE stands for the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers. And well, that's folks from the creative professionals over media technology, and most of them are engineers.
So it's more focused on the tech side of things.
Definitely. So the society really is about the technology behind your media business. So if you want, the first thing that they invented back then was a standard like the color bars or the time code. That is where everything started.
So that's why it's SMPTE bars.
That's the reason, yes. And you may have crossed the name at other places in technology. A very, very new example is SMPTE 2110, which is video over IP, and it's becoming the worldwide broadcast standard for going to video over IP now.
So just to give us a broad idea generally, how many members are there in the SMPTE worldwide?
I think worldwide it's right now about 5,000 members. And we try to grow this by more young people because there's a quite an aging problem, but that's true for all societies. We are working on that.
So how does one get into the SMPTE? Is it do I have to be an engineer to be part of that?
No, you don't have to be an engineer. You can access the SMPTE membership in whatever phase of your career or whatever your career is. You can just get a membership. That is joining as a professional member, of course, but if you're going to access this very early, you can even use your student enrollment as the opportunity to get into the SMPTE membership very cheap, because most often the first year is for free, and otherwise student members just pay $20 per year. And again, that is something that is first very cheap, but also there is no contract that makes you continue to by year follow up this membership. If you just stop payment, you are out of that membership, and you can re-access it later if you want.
What kind of benefits does a SMPTE membership actually get me?
May I step back to the benefits that I had with SMPTE and the reason why we did something else here in Germany now. I learned about SMPTE when I was working at DVS in Hanover. I had a product called Clipster, and I was using my product development team to deliver new features. And these discussions about new features were, of course, with our customers overseas. A lot of information and a lot of ideas came in from Los Angeles area, but also from New York and others. And in those discussions, very early, I crossed members of SMPTE. And ideas that came up in that community where a lot of SMPTE engineers were involved from different kinds of companies. And what I learned is that there was a very respectful way to work with each other, to discuss new topics, to solve problems on a eye-level way that was friendly and always helpful. So there was no restraint of information somehow. If there was an information available, it was just shared, and that's a big benefit that the SMPTE had. So this kind of international relationship, and that is what I learned when I started with SMPTE to work with them, and then got my own membership to just be part of that and continue that membership until today. So that's like interchange with other engineers, talk about new problems and solve these, define new standards, and educate others by that.
And have access to the resources to educate yourself if you don't know what this standard is, basically.
That's a very good point. Yes, you have, as a member, you have access to all standards that were developed by SMPTE over the 100 years of their existence. There is also more education to the members than just here is that paper, just read through it. We have typically within a month several so-called webcasts where we sit together online. Yes, and that was prior before we started all sitting around for online. And in these online sessions, we learn about specific topics. And I think as an engineer, that's a very valuable thing because there are so many topics in that media technology business that you typically don't come across over on your day-by-day work. For example, I wasn't aware of these new video over IP standards like SMPTE 2110 back then, and SMPTE educated me about that in these webcasts. Same for when HDR came up, so the first HDR discussions, and we had SMPTE webcasts for that. And always, if there is a new topic at the brink of the horizon, then in that moment, SMPTE hops on and educates its members about that technology, so that everyone is involved and understands what the capabilities of this are, and it gives you just that feeling that you are knowledgeable about the topics in that business, even if that's not exactly what you are doing, but it really helps to understand the complete business.
And so these webcasts, what kind of people are there? Is it people from the industry? Is it people that are just engineering and development? Is it companies giving talks about their products and stuff, or is it just the engineers by themselves and everybody please stay out?
The point is, the SMPTE memberships are widespread over engineers, over people, CEOs, people that lead a company. It's a very diverse group of people. And so for the webcast, for example, it depends on the topic. If there is a topic that needs a specific skilled person to talk about that topic, they choose one from all the members. And so it could be an engineer who's deep into its own technology. It could be a salesperson who is just covering something and talking about something. We have, for example, yearly a CES coverage, which is very interesting because we have people running over the place and finding the most interesting pieces of technology at the CES and then bringing this distilled back to us. It's much more effectful than staying in Las Vegas and trying to find all these gems on your own. So this helps.
Talking about finding gems, you mentioned quite a lot of different standards where the SMPTE played a substantial role. How can I imagine? How do you cut through all the buzzwords and hypes and say, okay, this is relevant. This is something where we're gonna dig into.
This is where the education part helps. So we have a journal which comes out all the second month. So we have 6 of them per year. And in this journal, there's a lot of discussion on the, let's say, on the meta layer where you get an oversight and overview over specific topics. And you also learn about if that is a hype or it's a real thing that's important to look into. Everything is a little bit not careful, but let's say, if there's a grain of salt in it, then people point to that grain of salt and tell you, okay, that's not what marketing tells you. So it's really engineering talk and that kind of quality and not like selling a specific topic. On the other hand, we have many releases of technological or also from research papers where we just see advancements in specific areas of the technology. And this goes partially very deep into the technology itself. I remember when we were discussing the PQ curve that we have for HDR content, and there were papers available for our SMPTE members which really needed you to twist your head around how exactly they calculated that. But then again, there were webcasts explaining that and helping us to get into that. So with a journal, I think you have a very good coverage of what's going on.
Let's say I become a member, and is there a forum, a general Discord or something like for the day-to-day communication with that? Can I go to the SMPTE forum and say, hey guys, I'm in New York tonight, who's up for beers? How's the social component?
I think that is in the regional parts. There are specific channels for that. There is no such global communication group. That said, there are global meetings per year. There is the big summit that we have typically in Los Angeles, so the Media Technology Summit in October, where we meet, and that's finally placed at a time in a year where it fits, because if you are in the media industry, I think you both know that there are many shows out there which cover the whole year with some appointments and so on. And the Media Technology Summit in October is slid in quite well to be one of those yearly meeting points. Then SMPTE is part of the International Broadcast Convention in Amsterdam, and as organizer of this show, one of 5, I think, there is a lot of meeting happening for SMPTE members in Amsterdam then also. So there are, over the year, several places where people can meet. Having said that, for the local chapters, for example, there's SMPTE UK, or there's SMPTE in Japan, there's SMPTE in India. For those local parts, there are special meetings and events that those local groups then plan and get their local members into. And for the students, there is a Discord channel, because for the student chapters, we have something hip like a Discord channel. Yeah.
So that's the global organization. When we look, for example, at Germany, which doesn't have a grown-up SMPTE chapter, but a student chapter. How is that organized in Germany, and how do I get there from Munich?
in Germany, as you said, there is no such thing like a real SMPTE chapter. Maybe at some day, but currently not. No, there is a SMPTE student chapter, and this SMPTE student chapter is formed by 3 universities right now. It's the Hochschule der Medien in Stuttgart, it's the Rhein-Main University of Applied Sciences in Wiesbaden, and it's my university, the Hamm-Lippstatd University of Applied Sciences in Hamm and in Lippstadt. Well, and our universities offer our students the chance to join the SMPTE even more advanced than you would do this as if you are just a student and joining the SMPTE. The thing is that in our case, our students get in touch with SMPTE by our lectures. So when we do lectures about media technology, at some point we tell them what SMPTE is, what STEMD stands for, what sense it makes to learn about standards, and what benefit it is for their own career to join something like SMPTE. It's not like an advertisement, but it's more like what we enjoyed in our own lives and experienced. It was what really helped us in our own careers, and we just share this with them. And that's our goal that we want to have. We want that these students have an early access into the industry, can early understand what possibilities and job offers there are, and get them also instantly involved with the companies that make up that media and entertainment world. So, for example, what we did the last 2 years, second time this year, we took 30 of our students, 10 per university, with us to the IBC in Amsterdam, and made a complete boot tour for them, and joined a lot of those companies there. I think it was about 16 or 17 this year alone.
In how many days?
Sorry?
In how many days?
Yeah, good question. In how many days? We took them for 3 days, but it was the boot tour, or the booth tour was 2 days.
So
And that was 70 joint companies within, let's say 2.5 days. But the first day, the Friday, we just had the afternoon.
So they got a big overview, basically.
Yes.
That's a lot of companies in a very short time. And
It certainly gives you your 10,000 steps on your smartwatch.
Christoph, those are students. They don't care about that yet.
For the most of the students, when you take them to such a big trade show or to such a big conference, it is the first time that they see and experience such a thing. And I think that first is overwhelming in its own. And then with us guiding them over that and meeting all the people where we don't have any problem in approaching anyone. So it is like a big family. I think you know that media entertainment business, if you work in that and you work all the time friendly with everyone, then you are welcome. And that is what we want to share with the students. What we did with them is, the companies didn't show their products. It wasn't about showing them the newest cameras or whatsoever. They can do this on their own. But what was important for us is that the companies showed the job opportunities that they have in their companies. And there's skill shortage right now in the industry, and that is exactly what we try to solve there, guiding our students to possible job offers they get, and vice versa, showing the industry there are people out there. Just pick them for your internships, make them do projects, and then maybe later hire them.
Going away from SMPTE and more to your job as a professor, how important is it for a student getting into the wild field of media and entertainment to be part of something like a SMPTE or a VES?
I think that for the students, that's a great benefit to be part of one of those societies. Whatever society this is, but I think it's important for your own career, because if you are working on your own, and as a student coming from the Corona phase that we were all in, they were already in kind of a bubble, and they continue to be in that bubble. And very often we feel that with our students are going to the nearest by university maybe and doing some kind of local study. But it's like guys, you have to see the world. And by getting a membership in one of those societies really helps in exploring and interchanging with other people, sharing ideas, getting new impressions. And that is very, very valuable for them to just see, okay, what's possible there, and to interchange with others, having thoughts of others, heard them. And again, it really takes them out of their bubble and shows them the possibilities in the media industry.
As you're not only a society in for itself, but you're also with this big responsibility of defining the standards. How does that work? Do members choose who is at the top to define these standards? Do members have any influence on these standards?
So there's that additional standards membership. If you are a normal member of SMPTE, you are not directly involved in the standards themselves, so creating them. You are more a receiver of what the standard committees are doing. If you want to go into standardization, you can do this, join that specific membership, which is another amount to pay, of course. But for example, for researchers, for professors like us, sometimes the SMPTE just opens up and says, yeah, you can join the membership for free. But standardization is something where, of course, the picking of those people who do the standards is it's not a process like you are going to vote for these members. That's not how it works. But the groups themselves have so many members that there is like a balancing. If someone goes wild, for example, on a standard, then the others in that group would just keep them down and take care that nothing strange happens to a standard. But this democratic way to form the standards and to work in those groups really also helps to protect them against stranger things that could happen there. But yeah, it's a system where everyone can take part in, but of course it is a work which is serious. So, and these members working in those parts are taking that work very serious, because there are also many companies involved, some with their own interests, but many of them also interested in getting a specific standard done to help their, for example, global work. As one example of those standards, there is that so-called IMF, which is the Interoperable Master Format. So this format was formed back in the 2010, 2011. There's currently an article to read about that in the SMPTE, on the SMPTE website. I think it's accessible for free, because one of the generators was of that format was Annie Chang back then. And inside of that standard solves so many problems. Now, for example, it is the Netflix worldwide standards if they want to receive material. So if you want to produce, or you produce a show for Netflix, you deliver as an IMF. And this standard now is, that 14 years old. It's from an idea by one person inside one company grown into a worldwide standard, which is now easy accessible for everyone. And it's in that case, it's usable for free. There's no license involved in that standard. Everyone can use it and put it into their own software and then work with that.
So any standards we should be looking out for that are currently getting relevant?
Yeah, I think one which is nowadays getting into involvement into the industry is SMPTE 2110, where I see that more and more companies now adopt to that. So there is high interest to get rid of all those video switches there, and SMPTE 2110 is a solution where you just get a switch and you plug in your your Ethernet cables and connect video with these cables. So that is something where I see many companies now going forward to use it. And you see currently more and more technology being developed with this standard included. So we see this in companies like WizardT, for example. They have now boards that can deliver and receive SMPTE 2110 format directly. There is this big industry for LED walls where we see now the LED processors getting SMPTE 2110 as a standard to transmit and receive the signals. So more and more technology is going to that standard now.
So we're gonna say bye-bye to all the different plugs, and maybe in 5 years' time, there's just one network cable.
You know that saying, if someone invents a new codec, it's like, okay, there is thousands of codecs before, and then it's 1001. I don't know about SMPTE 2110 exactly there, but my guess is that at some point this really could replace our beloved SDI cables, and hopefully all the unprofessional HDMI cables that I see in the professional world, they don't have to be there, but it really can help. And as we are doing quite a huge project here at my university right now, and we include both the old technology using all DisplayPort, HDMI, and SDI, but we also can drive the whole system with SMPTE 2110. And well, cabling with this new format is so much easier than it was with all these video switching that you have to wrap your head around to get it right if you have some multi-purpose application.
So that big project you'll read about in Digital Production as soon as I get the article.
For sure, you will get an article for that.
So Stefan, thank you so much for taking the time. This was really insightful, and we'll see you at FMX the latest, I think.
Thank you very much for your invitation and for having me. Have a good day.
So that was VS, which is a global VFX and post unit. Then there's SMPTE, which is more on the technical side. But most countries, most proper countries, have something regional, mostly based for just one country. And in Germany, for that, we have FKTG. And today, Sonja Langhans joins us.
Thank you for getting the word, spreading the word into the world, what associations in our field of work we all have, because there are so many and it's hard to know them all.
What does FKTG actually stand for?
The FKTG, it's a very old association. It's over 100 years old now. And it's a very German abbreviation. It stands for the Fernseh and Kinotechnische Gesellschaft. If you translate it very roughly to English, you can say nowadays it's a media technology network. But it's when it all started, it was from the very early beginnings of cinema and broadcasting. And it was an association of the engineers in that field.
And how much of the engineering background is still around, or is it these days more into general technology, or is it just the broadcast tech?
It's a nice mix of everything, I would say, but still a hard focus on engineering, although maybe not the engineering of like broadcast tech only, but also engineering in terms of media networking. That's getting more and more important in our field. So still technical focus. Maybe we got now more IT people in there. And we starting to get, so what's maybe more your focus, we're starting to get more and more, like VFX production.
So, and you're based in Munich, so also the virtual production stuff, the connection to the universities?
So FKTG is German-wide, and we're like, I didn't tell you the whole story, just told you where it started. We're a non-profit association, like kind of a club, and our council is, so the board of directors, something like that. We're all working at an honorary basis and after our regular work, and we're scattered across Germany.
And the members, how many are there?
We got like 1,300 personal members. So you can have both. You can be either a personal member or your company can be a member. So we have like 1,300 personal members of all ages, starting from 18, I guess. I don't think we have younger members, but why not? So if you listen to that, please join. And about 90 companies.
And what do these people do in the FKTG? Do you have regular meetings? Is there a clubhouse? Is there a publication or something like that?
So clubhouse would be quite nice, to be honest. Maybe at the Theresienwiese. No, but we don't. We don't have that. We have I think not the most important, but the most visible thing is the conference that we have every 2 years. And this is really like, maybe if some of you know that, like an IEEE conference or a SMPTE conference. So we got a paper committee or program committee. So you're just allowed to talk there if it's not sales only. So it has some scientific worth in it, or some best practices, current project that you just did, and findings you had in there. And it really, we had it this year in June, beginning of June, and it really covered a lot of topics, from very really deep engineering stuff up to AI, up to inclusive television.
How does one get to become a member of FKTG?
So it's very easy to become a member of FKTG. You just go to our website, which happens to be fktg.org. So it's really, really, really easy. And then you click on the button where it says become a member. And then you fill that out. You can become a member online right away. And it costs you 110 euros a year. So I think it's not very expensive. And if you're a student or otherwise learning, it costs you 40 euro a year. So it's really cheap. And what you get of it is, we do have a journal, which is, we just published online. It's now only available online. And you get some content is freely available, and some content is only for members. So if you're a member, you get a password. You can choose to password and read those articles. And we do always some regional get-together, I would say, where you have also presentations. Or recently we had something in Munich. And it was just before Christmas, so it was a presentation, and afterwards there was mulled wine and some cookies.
What kind of people are there, and how is the community? Is it there? You have the professionals who talk amongst themselves, and then there's the hobbyist members.
What members mostly appreciate is really the networking opportunities. So like we have what we have is regional boards that organize events. You have to do the offer to like once a month to come to a restaurant or to a bar, and whoever has time gets there, and it's really very colorful, I would say. It's all ages who come there. It differs. It can be salespeople from somewhere. It can be somebody from production, somebody from, I don't know, like from a university, or students who may be looking for something to do their master thesis, or some working while studying. It's always something nice to have as a student. So that would be your opportunity to get to know some people.
And which towns do you do that?
So we're again shattered all across, not only Germany. So we got Berlin, we got Cologne, we got the Mitteldeutschland. It's called the middle of Germany. So it's the Leipzig-Ilmenau area. So Eastern Germany. We got Munich. We got the northwest. It also contains like Wuppertal, Düsseldorf. We got something in Rhine-Main, Mainz,
Okay.
Frankfurt area. We got Stuttgart.
Hamburg.
Yeah, we got 2 more countries who talk German. So we got also a group in Austria, in Vienna, chaired by the ORF. And we're currently looking for somebody in Switzerland.
If the networking and the professional aspect is such a part, I assume you're on every event there is. What's the next one on your schedule?
We're not on every event, but we try to be. And the next one happens to be very, very soon in Hamburg. It's the Hamburg Open. We also took part in some of the program. So there are some presentations that we mingled together. And we're nearly all of us are there from the board of directors, not all 1,300 members, but also a fair share of members. And we got a own booth. So if you are interested in getting to know us, just come by.
So one thing we forgot at the very beginning of the show, Happy New Year, everybody. We're in 2025, and now that the festivities are behind us, we can get back to work, and before the real jobs start, check out some new stuff that's out there. So, Bela, what have we got?
Traditionally, the time where we all fix our parents' computer problems is not a time for big releases. But this year there were a couple of things that we can actually play around with. Talking about pipelines, there's a couple of people who like at the end of their pipeline to be Vray for rendering. But these days, at the beginning of the pipeline, there's often Blender, and that was something that you could do it, but you had to export and import and reset shaders and stuff like that. And after many years of asking, begging, praying, sacrificing various interns and chickens, we finally got Vray for Blender, which is coming, and it's officially, and currently it's a beta, so you can have a play around with it. And what it does do, currently it's for Windows and Blender 4.2, I think, but they're running a survey if you need some other combination, and and you can use it for free, and you get the production grade rendering of Vray within Blender. It also has the Sun and Sky system, which is pretty much flawless, and the frame buffer, I never understood what that should do, but it's a global illumination renderer that is production proven, battle tested, and now ready for the Blender crowd. So have some fun with that. And also just not to forget that Vray can do both CPU and GPU rendering. So whatever your Christmas present has, let's see how fast it goes. Going from how fast it goes to how slow it goes, there's something new for 3ds Max. Autodesk has released their implementation of USD for 3ds Max. The plugin is now available on GitHub. So if you have a pipeline that's USD based, and let's be honest, a lot of people these days have, because it works better, but you have 3ds Max users in there, so now you can match that and have a working plugin structure that connects deeply into your pipeline, even if you have 3ds Max users. And and while we're talking about playing around, there's one small company who has their tiny little project called Nuke, and apparently there's a new version of it, and you can play around with version 16 of Nuke, also in an open beta. The thing to look out for, that's now they have a multi-shot system.
Yeah, they have been working on this kind of multi-shot system with quite a lot of things in the past, like live groups and all that. So I haven't played around with it yet, but I'll definitely dig into that. It looks kind of interesting, especially for some more fast-paced work, maybe for commercial work. This might be really interesting, where you quickly have to adapt changes to a number of shots.
Yeah, and also they have a couple of new nodes, and redid some, for example, the Blink script node has been updated, so a bit of housekeeping in Nuke. So those were the beta stuff and the have a play around stuff. But if you really have to work already, so maybe have a cup of coffee and start up the new Mocha.
Boris FX did release Mocha 2025, and like the last couple of releases, it's not shy on new features. So first, and it's understandable in regards to marketing, they are really pushing their machine learning tools. So you've got now machine learning aided matte generation. It's kind of interesting, the approach they took. So right now you basically have a intelligent selection. So you can imagine that like a semantic here, where you can pick a couple of pixels and it will easily identify, for example, a human being or whatever the model has been trained on. Worked on quite a lot of things. And then from that selection, you can generate yourself your X-spline. Great, with a caveat. The X-spline right now is not animated, so from there you've got two choices. You can either use it to track something. So imagine you can track a hand. You use your machine learning to generate that X-spline, to not do that manually, and then you can track from there using the traditional Mocha tools. The second avenue that you can take is to actually use this or any other X-spline you created as a reference frame for the new machine learning vectors you can generate. And yeah, that's right. You don't generate a rendered matte, but vectors inside of Mocha. Right now, these are not editable, but what's really cool about them is that they are very lightweight when you save your script. So you see that Boris FX really took the approach of taking a look how ML stuff is going to be used inside of Mocha. So the idea is for you to use them as kind of rough mattes, occlusion mattes, things you need to get out of the way quickly to get your proper track.
It's also on VFX Reference Platform 2023. So it's compliant for that, so thumbs up.
You might remember last year they totally redid the whole camera solver inside of Mocha. In the past, that was basically a solver that tried to generate some kind of track from the planar surfaces you tracked. That didn't work too well. So once Boris FX bought Synthesize, they took the Synthesize engine and put that into Mocha, but with a Mocha style interface. So much more accessible, not as detailed and option heavy as Synthesize, and much easier to get into, much shallower learning curve. So that was in Mocha 2024. What they introduced in Mocha 2025 is that you can now actually produce tracks of moving geometry. So if you've got a camera solve, you can now also track your geometry, and that might, for instance, work the following way. You've got a planar track of your moving object and you do a solve of your scene, and then you can generate a moving 3D geometry from that initial planar track. So that's quite cool. And I feel this will be great, especially for Compass, because if you take a look at the in-house 3D trackers that, for example, Nuke or Flame or Fusions do have, they are not really good at moving geometry tracking. So that's really good to have it in a way that is accessible, because if you do it in a proper match mover like Synthesize or like PF Track, you really need to have a lot of understanding of the software. But the way Mocha is doing it right now is really accessible. It's got its drawbacks. It's with a slimmed down interface, you haven't got as much control over the process. You haven't got as much refinement options. So it's more of a hit and miss as you would, for example, have it inside of Synthesize, but to have the option is great. The last major feature that they introduced in Mocha 2025, and that is a redesigned export manager, which is good, because up until now it was basically a drop-down menu with, at the last count, 70 or something like options you had to scroll through. It was a pain. So now you've got favorites, you can sort by task, you can sort by software and really keeps things slick. And that's actually one of the features I enjoy the most about the new release.
That's it for the big news. There's a bit of housekeeping to do. Because when we talked about the future of AI and how that will change our jobs and so on, we were quite negative. But we thought we should be hopeful. And one of the things we just saw now, which went online on the day of recording this, is that Disney, for their business unit Industrial Light and Magic, now is searching for a face swap artist. Currently, it's not a actual role, it's just an expression of interest. So if that's something you're good at, look at Disney Careers. So you're going to monitor the training programs, you're going to assess improvements in quality and make the necessary adjustments and stuff like that. So from my personal experience, this is the first time I've seen an AI VFX job somewhere out there, which is not just help us understand this crap, but you need to know this, you need to understand this, and we want you to do something with AI for us, which is not just make everything redundant. So that might be interesting.
And with this news, I'm really looking forward to the part 2 of Face Off by John Woo.
I was looking forward to Nicolas Cage plays everything in Star Wars.
Well, we've got a Nicolas Cage connection there, so maybe both wishes get fulfilled.
Or we can just have Peter Cushing taking over John Travolta's role in Face Off.
Yeah, that's one comment I heard, and I found that really striking of the times we are in this industry, where I think it was Gareth Edwards, but don't quote me on that. I think somebody concerned with the whole Tarkin thing in Rogue One. Yeah, this is the only time we would do it this way. So the process has been basically killed after that, not deliberately, but just by the evolution of technology. Nobody would approach this whole Peter Cushing thing this way right now anymore.
If you've been patient enough to keep listening to this point, today I want to tell you something about that's helpful to select, analyze, and present and archive your movies. There's the contact sheet, which is a still of your movie with a small thumbnail for each of your scenes. And doing those is not difficult, but it's tedious. And if you need to do this quite often, for example, if you update your website or your CV,
or if you're creating a mood board, or if you pitch a job, there are a lot of applications for this.
And for that, there's a software called Movieprint, which is wonderfully simple to use. You download the software, you throw in your movie. It has some scene detection. It's not perfect, but you can always scrub through each frame in the layout you chose and find the perfect spots you want for your contact sheet. It's trivially easy to use. It's quick. It's quite flexible. So if you want to rearrange some things, for example, if you have repeating scenes or repeating versions of a scenes, you can export something as a JSON file. You can expand and hide and collapse. Thank you. Certain thumbnails, you have a lot of different ways to make that pretty and export it to everything you need, from a web exporter to a classic JPEG or PNG. And and these index prints or thumbnail views, or whatever you want to call it, are helpful. We all have to do them from time to time.
Thank you very much for that recommendation. And I think with that, it's time to conclude this episode number 4.
Yeah, the first one of 2025.
So thanks for sticking around so long, and hope to see you the next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.